Okay. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. I am here today with Sean, the deal maker himself, the OG. He is taking a break this week. So, Sean has agreed to help out with the podcast this week. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessie. This actually says Jessie Hawthorne, but that's obviously my maiden name. I'm Jessie DePonte. And I have been following my dad around for over 10 years now, just watching him build his business. He's helped me quite a bit with my own real estate business, which I do have. So yeah, that's who I am. Sean and I are here to talk about house hacking today, which is a really cool technique to help you kind of get started in real estate. So Sean, do you want to share with us what house hacking is and kind of give us the background?
Yeah, of course. So you guys know, I'm no guru. I'm podcasting from a house hack as we speak. So this is real knowledge. I've house hacked. I've helped friends house hack. And I think if you're looking to get started in real estate, it is the number one way to get your feet wet and start towards financial freedom. So what a house hack is simply a duplex, a triplex, or fourplex, which if you don't know, that's just how many units are in it, how many doors, separate entrances is key. For example, a duplex, you basically live in one side of the duplex and you rent out the other side of the duplex to tenants. And the whole point is you get great financing options with low down payments. You can do what's called an FHA loan. So basically you can take loans that are, really great down payments, really great, like 3%, really great rates, and then use that as an investment, financing. So it's almost like cheating in a way, and then use your tenants, income and rent to apply it to your mortgage payment to pay down your mortgage for you. And obviously the more units you do, the more it pays down. So for example, I went from paying $1,500 a month in rent to buying this fourplex in East Hartford, and now I get paid $800 a month to live here. So not only do I live rent free, I get paid to live here, and that's the power of house hacking.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So my house hacking is different, which I'm glad we have different stories here, right? So my house hacking is I actually live in a single family house. We bought our house in it was a foreclosure. We bought it for, just to give some real numbers, we bought it for $158, I believe was the number. And then we did something called a 203K mortgage, which is really another whole podcast in terms of what that is and how that works. So basically 203K is where you get two loans. You get your mortgage and then you get your renovation costs. So we put about, I think we put in about $35,000 of work into our house. So we did furnace, we did everything but the roof. Of course, we just had to do the roof. Of course, that's how it works, right? Right. So we did everything but the roof. And the plan is that this was a starter house for us. And that when we were ready, we were going to purchase another house, or we were going to sell this house. But either way, we were going to put tenants in this house and get some income and have it pay for a future mortgage in a different house. Or we were going to sell it. The house, we own it for right now with all of the renovation money. I believe last I checked, like $178. And right now, according to Zillow, we could list it for, the market is hot. So obviously, the numbers are a little high, but I think last I checked, it was like 309 that we could list it for. So a different way to house hack, but I love the idea of a multifamily or different units, because like you said, the more streams of income that you can have come in, the better, for sure.
Right. Right. And, just to circle back, like the number one reason to house hack, whether you do it like in a way that you do and, buy a house that needs a lot of work and then fix it up using a owner financing method. And all that means is you have to live in the property for at least a year and then you can do whatever you want with it. Like you could start renting your house. But the number one way, like people are wondering, why should I house hack? The number one reason is, if you're in real estate, whether you're doing creative or not, you need disposable income for marketing,
Exactly.
for down payments, for unexpected repairs. You can't do real estate without money. You could do it with
Yep.
less money by using creative, but you're still going to need money. And I think the average people between car payments and house payments, I think the math is it's like 66% on average of all people's expenses. Imagine how much money you could put towards real estate each month if you just took, that $1,500 mortgage, $1,600,000 of rent that you're just throwing away. Imagine if that was gone and you could spend $1,600,000 or $1,600 a month on real estate, whether through coaching or through marketing or, you just imagine if someone gave you a check for $1,600 per every month and said, hey, spend this however you feel best in real estate, and how much farther you would get in, a year's time. So
Absolutely.
it's the biggest
Absolutely.
benefit I've seen.
I think so, for sure. And I think what makes it so nice is that, as long as you have, as long as you can qualify for your own mortgage, that's really your upfront cost. I mean, there's not any additional costs that you really need to come up with unless you need renovations or something like that. But it's a really simple way to really just get your feet wet and get the experience.
Right. So I think the next thing to transition to is kind of now that you know how great house hacking is and what it is, kind of how you can do house hacking yourself and the types of house hacking. So I think the most important thing to talk about is first the two types of financing. So like with my house and with a lot of houses, you'll do what's called an FHA loan, which just the only requirements for it is to qualify with credit. And then you have to live in the property or have intentions to live in the property for 1 year. So if your job moves you out of state or you lost a family or any other reason, you can get out of the loan. It's just you have to have the intention to stay there for a year. And why is the FHA loan so great? I'll tell you this. If you're doing a regular loan in a rental property, right now it varies and by bank, but you'll be putting at least 15% down, if not 20% down, if you want to buy a duplex or a quadplex. So if you were saying real numbers, I paid $230 for this property. If I'm putting 20% down, that's $46,000. That's before closing costs. That's before renovations. That's before anything. And the best part about the FHA loan is it's 3.5% down. So instead of saving up $46,000 plus repairs plus whatever, I put, let's see, $8,000. So $8,000. Not only is it more achievable, but it just takes your cash on cash return and just skyrockets it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we did if you don't do
similar.
FHA, you do the 203K. So you could tell them a bit about the 203K loan, how those work.
Yeah, so a 203K loan is very much, it is also an FHA loan. So same thing that Sean's talking about in the sense that you're putting minimal money down. We put down less than 10% on our house. Like I said, 203K loans, it's a whole nother conversation, but the nuts and bolts of it are there's two different kinds of 203K loans. The first kind is what's called a streamlined 203K loan. And really all that means is that it's less paperwork. Often with a streamlined 203K loan, you don't have to have an inspector come and check on the project all of the time. And you can't do any structural changes. So what does that mean? That means you can't knock down walls on the inside. You can't, add anything onto the house. You can't do anything big like that. The second kind of 203K loan is a traditional 203K loan. This loan, you can take out over $35,000. You will have more inspections, more inspectors coming through to make sure that you are doing the kind of work you need to do, and you can make those structural changes. So it really depends on the house. It depends on the kind of work that you need done. There's a lot of decisions that go into that. Often I'll find that when we did our 203K, we had to find a specialized lender, because not every single lender can do a 203K loan.
Right.
So you really want to be careful of that, or they'll tell you that they can, but there's so many nuances to this loan that you really want to make sure that you find somebody who is knowledgeable about a 203K. So
Yep.
right. So otherwise it's a standard FHA loan. Same concept. Except you're just adding in the renovation. We had to do contractors, all of that stuff. That's the other thing. You cannot do the work yourself. You have to get a licensed contractor to come in and do the work for you.
Yep.
So that's basically the nuts and bolts of a 203K.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And if people are sitting there wondering, should I do a 203K or should I do a standard FHA? It's very, very simple. It just comes down to how much work does the property need. One thing to know with FHA loans is you're going to have a specific government inspector. Usually you'll have the bank inspect it, but in addition for FHA loans, and 203K as well, you'll have an inspector that has you can't have chip paint, you can't have this, you can't have that, and they're kind of picky. So if it doesn't need a lot of work, you could do FHA, but if it needs a lot of work, it likely won't qualify for FHA, and that's when you have to do what Jesse's saying is 203K. And the big benefit of 203K, if you didn't pick up on it, she mentioned a little bit, is you take the rehab, and instead of paying for the rehab out of pocket, the financing for the house and the rehab goes together, and it just makes it so you still pay that 3.5% down, and then that rehab is combined with the loan. And you just have to, get approved contractors for it. And really the only downside to a 3K loan, finding the specialized lenders that do it, because it can get complicated and you can mess it up, and managing the contractors. But it's awesome.
Right. Yeah, it's true. And that is, managing contractors is also another topic for conversation.
Yeah.
But, in general, it was a lot of work. It was, but it was totally worth it. I mean, I was 5 months pregnant with my first son. We had to spend a couple nights in our house with no heat because we lost contact with our heating guy. So that was fun. But in general, it really is a great way to get started and really build equity into your house. I mean, I really wholeheartedly believe, that my house, the equity that I built into it, when we first bought it, we asked our realtor, what do you think at this level? What would you list this house for? Because it was a foreclosure, right? So it's kind of a little different than if it were a standard seller who's just going to put it on the market. She said, well, maybe 200,000, maybe. So I really built, I'm going to say $60,000 to $100,000 in equity just through an FHA loan, through the renovations. And, it's very, once you get through that, once you get through the paperwork and finding a lender and going through the motions, it's really worth it.
Oh, yeah. So I think a good next topic would be, people sitting there thinking, this sounds great. I'd love to find a perfect foreclosure house, or I'd love to find a fourplex and, get a good deal on it and be paid to live there each month. So I'll go through, what I recommend, what I've told my friends, what they've done. They've found places, and kind of what I stumbled into myself. I'm no superhero. I needed help my first time. And, I recommend for her first time home buyers and those looking to house hack, the first step is to find an investor friendly realtor in the area. So why do you want an investor friendly realtor? The huge thing is the realtor you're looking for has rentals himself. He manages rentals. He knows how to run numbers. You're not looking for a realtor that only helps families find their HGTV dream home. You're not buying this because it's beautiful. You're buying it because it makes sense and it's a great investment. And you want someone as a new investor to not only, if anything, give you confidence that they would buy this themselves. So the way I did that, I recommend Bigger Pockets is a great website and community. This community is great as well. Reach out, search for realtors, and find realtors that actually buy properties themselves. And the first step is to have a great relationship with that realtor. Call a few, find the one that fits you and you're comfortable with and you trust, and have them set you up with MLS access. So if you're totally new, MLS access is just the official where realtors list all their properties. Have them set you up for a search in the area that you're interested in and get alerts on new duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, whatever you're looking for in the area. Get alerts for when new ones pop up, and then you're also able to do searches to look for what's already on the market. And basically, the first step is to get set up with that search, and then as things start popping up, do your due diligence as much as you can yourself before calling your realtor, and run the numbers and look at the pictures. And then as soon as you think something might make sense, give your realtor a call and, set up a tour and, just start doing it. That's like really the best first step is, form a good relationship with a realtor who owns investments and get that MLS, alert set up like today. So that's like the easiest first step.
I think that's great. I never thought about it that way, but it's so true. Finding a realtor who gets what your end game is, who gets that you're eventually going to have to look into getting tenants. It's a totally different experience than, you're right, than the typical family who's looking, to have a pool in their backyard and a white picket fence. So great advice. I love that. That's great.
No, it made the world of difference for me. I had a guy, Michael Noto in Connecticut. He got me into it. He owns 10 units plus or something like that. And basically it just showing up to a property. I'm a numbers guy. I ran the numbers in Excel and but I had no idea what I'm doing. I've never bought a house. And, how do I know what a vacancy rate should be and yada, yada. So just having someone that knows what they're doing and, to bounce it off of them just gives you, so much confidence.
Absolutely.
Now, I think the next thing that would make sense to tell people is, I mentioned, first getting alerts and finding properties, but the next thing you have to do once you start finding properties is learn how to run numbers. So if you actually, realtors are paid for their time. Same as if you find an investor friendly or anything, they're paid for their time. So you want to value your realtor's time. And the best way you can do that is running numbers and doing your due diligence before you even call them. Because if you see a duplex pop up and you call your realtor and you see another duplex pop up, you're just the boy who cried wolf, and they're going to start ignoring your calls. Because it's basically to them, it's how much time do I have to spend. It's a time versus money thing. And if you become a really needy buyer, and you're not only, because the average transaction, he's basically just showing a house, someone saying, hey, do you like it? Yes or no. But with you, he's basically teaching you real estate and evaluating deals for you. It's a lot more work. So you really want to be weary of their time and value their time and appreciate it by running numbers yourself and not calling them every single house that pops up. Only call them for really good fits or, once you look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the numbers, speaking, coming from an English professor who has no math concepts, like very minimal math concepts, I think that the numbers, Sean, that you're probably referring to are pretty easy to run. You're really most likely just looking at, the income against the debt, how much money you're going to take in, how much money you're going to put out, and finding that sweet spot of, and the other thing you have to think about too, currently as a landlord, there comes a certain time where you say, okay, right now my profit is $600 a month. Is that worth my time? Is that, is this a duplex that I could, is there a lot of maintenance that I'm going to have to do, all of that kind of stuff. So I think that's a great point, and that you really want to make sure you find the right property that has enough profit for you that it's worth it. Because I don't know about you, Sean, but I get those calls where it's like my tenant saying, hey, this is going on. Hey, that is going on.
Right.
So it is a job, so you just have to make sure it's worth your time and your energy too, for sure. But, you find the right deal and it is worth it.
Yeah. And even if you pick the good thing with house hacking, even if you pick like a good deal, the worst case is like, you were paying $1,500 of rent before. Now you pay $800, but that goes down towards principal reduction. You have an appreciating asset, tax benefits. So even if you fail, it basically house hacking. It's very hard to completely fail, but it is possible to have a home run versus like a double or a base hit.
Right.
So the number one way I run numbers. There's calculators you can find all over the place, but don't, get terrified. There's YouTube videos you can look up how to run numbers, but the crux of it is basically you'll find in the MLS advertisement, almost always they'll say what the rents are in the property currently. And if you don't know the rents, you can do a safe estimate. If you go to rentometer.com, you can put in an address and the bedroom count, and you can get the median rent for the area, and then just determine, hey, is this a nice property or is it a great property, or is it a D class? Is it a bad? It needs a lot of work, and then just guesstimate what the rent is from there. And then, once you have the total rent, determine what unit you would be living in, take that rent out of the equation, and that's your income. And then you just work backwards from there. You do a mortgage calculator. You know what your rate's going to be once you get pre-approved for a loan. So find out what your mortgage is going to be, your taxes, your insurance, put a vacancy rate on there. So usually a conservative vacancy rate, it's like 8%. Put some repairs, like 5%. So like really simply, just take your rental income, multiply it by 85% to account for vacancy and repair. Subtract your taxes and your insurance, and that's how much you're gonna get. It could be negative, it could be positive. If it's positive, then you're now getting paid to live in that property. So that's like a real fast and dirty how to run the numbers. But if you want to learn more, there's spreadsheets everywhere you can find, and YouTube videos. But the best way to not only get your feet wet, but learn real estate is just looking at a ton of properties and running your numbers.
Absolutely.
You'll start doing it in your sleep after doing 6, and you'll know a general rule of thumb. It's a real just lick the thumb and see is the 1% rent rule. So usually you'll know if a house hack has a chance to be cash flow positive if the rent is 1% of the purchase price. So if it's like a $200,000 house, you're going to be looking for at least $2,000 in rent. If it's below that, usually what it means is you're not going to be able to be cash flow positive, but usually you'll be in a market that has a greater chance to appreciate. So your cash flow won't be as good, but you have a chance to, have a house that appreciates like crazy. So it's usually where the trade-off is. You'll see higher percentage in like the Midwest. Ohio is great. Connecticut's okay. It's kind of rare to get above 1%, but it's there. If it's above 1%, usually it's a good deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other point that you brought up too that was really important is there is no way to fail, really, because I mean, you've got multiple. So my dad usually, sorry, there's a mosquito flying around me and I keep swatting at it. Usually there's different streams of income, right? You've got your monthly your passive income, you've got your equity. So really you've got, we're going through this now with our rental. we've decided that we're going to list it because the market has been so good. And, we've got so much going on in life that we've decided that maybe right now is not a good time for us to be landlords.
Yep.
So, we're still getting in our monthly rent, but we also kind of house hacked this house. We bought it cheaper. We're going to put it, we're not living in it. So really it's not a house hack, but we bought it for cheaper. And we're listing it for higher because that's market value. So really our income is not only from the costs that we've taken in each month, which for us is usually anywhere from $600 to $800 profit. But now when we sell the house, we're looking at, potentially $65,000 to $75,000 in profit. So you can't go wrong. I mean, you just really can't go wrong,
No, there's just so many benefits. If you have a good realtor behind you and you run the numbers, I mean, like I said, even if you do a bad deal, it's better than where you're at, especially if you're renting or just doing like a big single family that's above your means, or just anything really, because like you're saying, just you get the passive income. That's number one. You get to do whatever money you save from rent, you get that in your pocket every single month, and can apply that to a new property or whatever. You get the principal buy down, so just paying the loan off naturally. You get all that for profit, and you get tax benefits. So if you do end up making any money, you're not going to pay taxes on it, just because the interest on your loan, repairs, depreciation. I mean, by the time you account for all those, not only are you able to, any income you make from the property is tax free, you can also apply that to your if you have a main job like a W-2, you can reduce your primary income up to $25,000 per year with your property. So if you have to make 10 grand in repairs in your property, you basically get to save that in taxes on your primary income. So it's just so awesome for so many different ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, it really is. I've talked to it's funny you say you talk to your friends about this. I've talked to a lot of my friends about this as well. And, it really, you have to, the only thing you have to watch is obviously the market, right? The market ebbs and flows. But again, if you have a good realtor, like you're talking about, Sean, you could have them notify you, and usually they're pretty good at seeing trends in the market. Obviously that's kind of what they do all day. So, just keeping an eye on the trends and striking while the iron is hot, I think is a really important part of house hacking, right? Like you want to make sure that you are watching the market. And a lot of people, you can go on Zillow, and Zillow does not have perfect numbers by any means. But you can see, often when I look at Zillow, I'm looking at what has sold in the area versus what is listed, because sold means like money was exchanged, and those are real numbers, So, keeping an eye on the sold houses, and, making sure if you are going to move on to another unit or you're going to do something like that, making sure that you're keeping an eye on the market along with your realtor. But you can do some of that at home too yourself on Zillow, just to like keep an eye on the trends. And it's hard to know. It's hard to know what's going on in the market, but you'll start to see the trends after a while.
Right. Yeah. And for those that are, worried, what if my property value tanks? What if I pay too much for the house? Honestly, the number one way you can protect yourself from that, and the number one golden rule throughout all of real estate, is, cash flow is king. So if, say my property, I paid $230 for it, but I cash flow $800 a month. Why would I care if my house is now worth $100,000 tomorrow? I don't care. I don't care at all. I'm not going to sell it. I'm holding on long term. So almost all house hacks, the number one way to protect yourself is after you've run the numbers with you living in it, the most important thing to do is run the numbers for when you're not living in it. So take that unit that you're living in, and if you want to make the most money, do what I did. I'm in like I renovated it, so it's not bad, but you should see this place when I moved in. The walls were bad. I picked the worst unit and I lived in it and I just fixed it up, and it's like 750 square feet. So pick the worst. If you want to make the most money, pick the worst unit, fix it up,
That's smart.
and then when you move out, just run the numbers for what you think you'll get for rent after you moved out, and that's your exit strategy. And if you're cash
Yeah.
flow positive when you move out, you're safe. I mean,
Yeah.
whether real estate goes up, it goes down, as long as you're cash flowing, it's worth holding on to that asset.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I do it.
Yeah, I also think that you have to think about house hacking in some ways as the long game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about options and lease options and slot deals and, you know, a lot of ways that you can make money fast in real estate, right? With no money down or whatnot. And there are a lot of those deals out here. This is a long game. This is, you know,
Yep.
like you said, Sean, it's passive income. The longer you hold it, the more money you're going to make. So it's worth it to hold properties like these, unless, you know, life happens and things change. But, you know, it definitely is a long game. And for some people, you know, our age, a long game is a good thing. You know, a long game, if you have a couple of different games going, as Dad would say, you know, you could still do the lease options and all of that. And I liked when you said before too, you know, the extra money, the cash flow that you're getting in each month. You really, if you want to 10x, or if you want to, you know, really amplify your real estate business, you take that money and you put it into things like lease options, and you put it into things like slot deals, you know, and you just make your money work. You're not working for the money is working for you. And that is when real estate is the best, is when money is working for you and you're not working for money. So there's so many pros to house hacking and doing what we're talking about here.
Right. Yeah. And if you're thinking, I'm not buying on market. I'm not doing FHA. I'm a creative. I listen to Bill. I'm a flipping houses for rookies diehard. I only do creative. I would argue. I love what creative is great at is, like Jessie said, doing deals without much money. But also these FHA, you're not putting in much money. It's 3.5 down. So we have a lot of creative deals where it's creative, but by the time I pay the fees and everything, I put 3.5% down in quite often. So not only is, I advocate it also because it's a great home base, because, you're really in a real estate now, but life changes. So, even if you, decide you don't want to do real estate anymore, at the very least, once you house hack, your expenses are reduced as long as you live there and it's not an active thing. You get your tenants set up on auto payments, and, especially if you're like in a duplex, it's like one unit. So, even if you don't, stick with real estate forever and you end up, going another path, house hacking still will set you up for success, whether you stay with real estate or not. Creative is more active income, as far as, the more you market, the more you talk to sellers and stuff, the more money you'll make creative. This is more so, like you were saying, Jessie, just a long con home base. It's good for everybody. I mean, reducing expenses is like, there's only two ways to make more money or reduce expenses. So
right. And you don't need a lot of tools. You don't need a lot of tools in your pocket. You can kind of just get started when you want, and it's a great way. I think what often happens is, I think that both of us might be in this boat. You get a taste of the real estate and how much you can make, and you want more because you realize the potential. So I know for me, a lot of my money that I'm making from my house hacking, my husband and I are actually talking about going to buy a vacation home. And we're thinking about trying out the whole Airbnb thing, which my dad is like, oh, you could try that. I've never done that before. So that might be an adventure that we'll go on together, because I think that's another, just diversifying your streams of income and how they come through and the different strategies. And, I think having multiple different kinds of real estate going at the same time is just optimal for making the most amount of money in any situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And something you also hit on that, another hidden benefit is, not only is it safe, but it is the perfect way to learn how to become a landlord. So you've never managed tenants, you've never managed a property, you've never done, taxes on a property. I mean, it's like perfect because, you only have 1 or 2 units. You're right there. If something happens, you can either, you're not driving 30 minutes across town to fix something. You don't have to have a contractor for everything. So it's basically having tenants on training wheels.
Yeah. And as somebody who has the opposite, where I don't live in the house that I rent out, it is a great benefit, because the other thing that happens is, depending on your tenant, sometimes things are going on in the house and they notice a drip, but they don't say anything. Ask me how I know. This is what I'm going through right now. It starts as a little drip and they don't say anything because they don't think it's a big deal. And then they don't want to tell you because they don't want to bother you and then it just snowballs. And before you know it, you're, $5,000 knee deep in literal water. That's, so I think the benefit, like you're saying, Sean, is you're in the house, you're seeing what's happening. You have a lot more control over the going on of your property. Things like you're not gonna have to, right now we pay for lawn service to go do our yard. When you're living in the house, you don't have to do that. So it kind of takes away some of the added expense of being a landlord, because you can do that, because if you were living in your own house, you would be doing it anyway. So you're saving time and energy, and money. Yeah. I mean, we pay, especially in the summertime, we pay a lot of money to get the lawn done. And then, when it snows in Connecticut, it's like, you got to get somebody to go over and shovel the driveway and do all of that. And that's a pain in the butt. Half of the stuff that goes on in a house that creates aggravation, I find, for myself at least, is just the repairs and trying to get those done. So I think that's a really good point, that you're there and you're available. And tenants are always happy when you fix a problem quickly. That's what they're looking for. They don't want to wait forever, which is understandable. They want it fixed quickly. So when you're there, it's just an added bonus.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's always critical to take care of your tenants, to avoid, do whatever you can to take care of the good tenants, because the cost of turnover and time is never worth saving, the $100 or whatever, because it's going to cost you way more in rent to put a new tenant in place, fix it up, and the hassle. So always treat your good tenants like gold. Don't be the stereotypical cheap landlord. It'll bite you.
It will. It really will. Absolutely.
So another great hidden bonus that I learned, while looking for houses, a lot of people get scared finding tenants because there's this big hammer going around called fair housing laws. So there's all these rules you got to follow. You can't treat anyone differently. You can't give someone preferential treatment. You have to consider Section 8. And for anyone that owns a lot of properties and rents them out, they know everything about it. As a first-time homeowner, it's just going to be scary because people get sued and people get in trouble. But the biggest benefit to house hacking, tenant-wise, is you live in the home, so you don't have to follow fair housing laws. You get to pick whatever tenant you want, and you don't have to worry about whether you tell people, I take Section 8, I don't take Section 8. Since you live in the property, you are allowed to pick your roommates. And not have to worry about fair housing laws. So if you're worried about, either breaking the laws or you're worried about living next to someone who's crazy, you get to pick who you live next to. The only thing is, if you inherit tenants, hopefully you're able to meet them and judge whether they're crazies or not, and whether it's worth inheriting the crazies. I I inherit tenants all the time. It's just training tenants is a knack, and it's a learned talent.
It really is, and it really can be. I mean, I think it's just, I think that's a great point. You know, I know when we, in our rental, we did accept Section 8 for the same reasons. We didn't end up going with somebody who was a Section 8 tenant, but, and that's a great program that provides a lot of need to a lot of people. And I'm glad it's an opportunity for people. But yeah, I think that, you know, again, if you want to talk about a whole nother podcast, it's screening tenants and relationships with your tenants. I mean, you know, communication is huge. You want to communicate with them often, but you've got a great point, you know, in terms of not having to worry about some of those additional, you know, additional laws or additional, considerations that you might have to have if you're not living there. So, I think that's a really good plus.
Yeah, if you're a brand new investor, and the last thing you want to do is have to worry about how to do the paperwork for a Section 8 tenant. What's a Section 8 tenant? I mean, you want to keep it simple for your first time. And another thing I thought of is, for you, there is a benefit where you live in the property, you don't have to shovel, you don't have to, do the lawn care, you don't have to pay for mowing the lawn. But I'm totally different. I'm always at a battle for time, and I will pay for time every time. So I'm the opposite. The biggest benefit for me is I haven't mowed my lawn a single time since living here, and I haven't shoveled my driveway a single time, because when I pay for it, it's tax deductible. So, realistically, it's about 30% less, and it just goes towards negating any income I make anyway. So it's all tax deductible. So if you're like me, you're lazy and you just want to get tax deductible reasons to not mow your lawn, join my club, or you can go Jesse's route and save money and just do it yourself. Both have pros and cons, but you will not see me out there with a shovel in December. I promise you.
Oh, that's so funny. That's it's so funny you say that, because Bill is the same way. He will write checks all day long. I think in the 30 years that I've been alive, I don't know if I've ever seen him shovel. I don't know if I've ever seen him on a lawnmower. Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
It's just, it's great for when you have like one property or two properties. And it's basically what's more important to you. Like, do you have a lot of time, or do you have very little time, but more money? So like the only way you're going to be able to, it's a little off topic, but the only way to scale to multiple units, once you get past like 3 or 4 units, you can't do the work yourself. You can't be the one going to fix sinks. You can't be putting on toilets. I mean, You're just going to run out of time, and not only run out of time, you're going to drive yourself crazy. But with one unit, it's that stuff flies. It works. Yep. 2 units, no problem. It's just once you start getting like the 4 or 5, you start losing too many weekends. You start losing some hair.
Yes, absolutely. And I think too, what we've done with our rental too is we actually give a credit to our tenant. With one set of tenants, we've done that. So like we'll say, hey, in December, January, and February, it's going to be snowing. If you make sure that you clear the driveway and clear the sidewalks, we'll reduce your rent by $100. So that's also another way. They're already there. They're on the property, and they can just make it happen. We did that for a little bit. And then we ended up changing it. So now we just pay for a service. But either way, no matter which way you slice or dice it, you're right. There's pros and cons to both ends. My husband's a Home Depot man, do it yourself, don't tell me how to do it kind of guy. So I don't do any of that stuff. I do all the back end paperwork, leases, all of that. So we make a pretty good team. But so it just, you're right. It depends on what you value more. Time or money at that point.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we're getting towards the end. So to recap, we covered, what a house hack is, what the huge benefits are for, it being your first investment, how to, I think the best first step towards financial freedom you can ever take, in my opinion. The first step to finding a house hack, finding an investor-friendly realtor. We talked about financing options, whether you do FHA or 203K. We talked about how to run the numbers. We talked about tenants. We talked about shoveling. We talked about, I think we ran the whole gambit by the end of it. So
Yeah,
hopefully people got a lot and know, if they hear the term house hacking, they at least know what they're talking about. And
exactly.
I hope people take action today and, go on Bigger Pockets, go on whatever website and find a realtor today and start taking action, because
Yeah,
it's the best first step you'll ever take.
it really is. And I think, Sean, that's what's so cool about this is you can take action literally right now, today. And it's a long game, but it's also pretty immediate in terms of the benefits of it. So yeah, I think we've covered everything pretty well. I'll do a plug here for Dad at the end. Make sure to
Always.
check out flippinghousesforrookies.com. Is it .org or .com? I think it's .com. Thank you. And of course, he's got all of his courses. He's got coaching that he always offers as well. He's got a lot of amazing stuff. I'll say this because he's not here, so I can say stuff like this. But honestly, I know I'm his daughter, so I'm a little biased. But the things that he does, it's really amazing. And the kind of creative real estate that he's offering or teaching, it's just above and beyond anything that I've ever seen or read. And I've seen and read quite a bit. And his biggest goal is to help people and to help people realize their potential in real estate. And real estate has been a way to make money for so many years, and it's so stable. It's not the stock market or other risky, ventures. I mean, there is some risk. There's inherent risk with everything, but he loves talking to people. He loves wheeling and dealing. I often say he could sell a paper bag, right? Because he loves being around people. So if you haven't checked out his stuff before, I hope that you get a chance to check out his website. He's got a lot of great courses, and often he's told he gives away too much for free. So there is so much that you can go on his website and check out. And really get started with either house hacking or any other creative real estate stuff. So I will talk all day. So I will say that's it for me. Thank you so much, Sean, for being here. And I think that we got some really great information about house hacking, and stay tuned for some more podcasts.
All right. We're over and out.
Over and out.